Hey everybody, you know the drill. It's Friday, so if you haven't already, go down below, hit that subscribe button, and let's start talking some Montreal Canadiens hockey. The Montreal Canadiens have played 4 games since I last spoke to you, and their only one came against the Detroit Red Wings, and that's a big cause for concern. I think at this point the Montreal Canadiens are what they are. They're a bottom-feeding team, and they don't exactly have the consistency or the chemistry within this room, or even the coaching, quite frankly, to be able to get past that level and get back into mediocrity like we saw them last season. I know they made the Stanley Cup final, but it wasn't exactly a recipe for success for this Montreal Canadiens team. So I think the Montreal Canadiens need to take a big, hard look in the mirror, specifically with their management, and really get this thing back on track. They really need to start looking at player development as a key for what they need to do moving forward here. Matthias Norlander, Cole Caufield, Nick Suzuki, these are some of the big names that the Montreal Canadiens have in their hands right now, or the Laval Rocket, and they really need to start developing these prospects carefully. It's just not a coincidence anymore when you look at the Montreal Canadiens drafting record over the last 10 years. You need to start pointing the finger at Trevor Timmins. He hasn't exactly come as advertised. I think a lot of Habs fans gave him the benefit of the doubt. But look at the amount of Montreal Canadiens that have really graduated into the Montreal Canadiens pipeline over the last 10 years. There's not a big list of players that have found success. The biggest ones that have found success are ones that they've gotten from outside of the system. That's Nick Suzuki. That's players like that. So I really think the Montreal Canadiens need to take a hard look in the mirror, realize what they're doing wrong in player development, and kind of start fresh. I think heads do need to roll. There needs to be some sort of change within the organization. Keeping the status quo isn't going to do anyone any good. I think Jeff Molson, the owner of the Montreal Canadiens, needs to really look at this and say, we need to make a change here. Marc Bergevin is a free agent after this season, and I think that the Montreal Canadiens need to move on from him sooner rather than later so that they can get a plan in place and really start moving forward towards the next wave of Montreal Canadiens hockey. You look at those players that I've already mentioned, Nick Suzuki, Cole Caufield, Alexander Romanov. These are the type of players that the Montreal Canadiens need to focus their energy on and their time and efforts, because these are the players that are going to lead them into the promised lands in the future, or at least they hope they are. These are the players that are most highly touted in the organization, and quite frankly, the Montreal Canadiens haven't done a good enough job developing these players and putting them in positions to succeed, and I think that needs to change, and they're starting to correct those mistakes. Cole Caufield is now in Laval, and I actually think that's a good decision because him and Dominic Ducharme just weren't finding the chemistry that they needed in order to put him in a position to succeed. And I think that in Laval, Cole Caufield can get his confidence back. He can start scoring some goals, playing on the #1 power play unit, getting a lot of ice time, and I think that's going to be integral for his development. But you look at what Alexander Romanov is doing at the NHL level right now, and I don't even think it would be a bad idea to send him to Laval, get some more ice time, play a lot of minutes per game, and I think it would really help him gain some confidence on that North American ice, because I really just don't believe that he's kind of made that transition as smoothly as a lot of people would have hoped last season. Marc Bergevin gave him these lofty expectations heading into last year, and I don't think it's paid off. He's been up and down as a Montreal Canadian, and I really just don't think they should ruin his development by letting him stay up too long. Putting him in the press box, putting him back on the ice, it doesn't do him any good. Send him to Laval, get him some coaching, and really just give him those big minutes to be able to adjust to the North American ice, because I really just don't think he's been able to do that since he came over. And he's always going to have some spotty decision making with the puck, but he needs to be aggressive. That's the type of defenseman the Montreal Canadiens are currently missing. So although this looks to be a lost season for the Montreal Canadiens, they need to hone in on player development here, figure out where the problem is at the root of this system, and really get that back on track, because if they don't figure that out, it's not going to matter how good of a prospect they do draft in the next entry draft, assuming they do get a top 10 selection. They need to figure out what the problem is, get it done, and really get those solutions put in place so that the Montreal Canadiens can go back to winning hockey games. That's it for me today from Cook's Corner. As always, let me know in the comment section down below what you have to say about the Montreal Canadiens and their player development. I'm Zach Cook. We'll see you later.